All right, I think we can go ahead and start the webinar. Thank you for joining everybody. So today we are going to be talking about Defender for Cloud, how it can help you in your cloud security journey. And we'll also be talking about cloud security posture management as well as workload protections. In particular, we're going to be having a closer look at how you can secure your data assets in Azure and how we can secure that storage and reduce those types of risks. So as part of today's agenda, we just got a handful of slides here that we're going to talk about. And then the main topic of discussion is we got a demo that we're going to do, and feel free for any IT admins out there, you can join along in the demo as we do a walkthrough of Defender for Cloud and the different kinds of Defender plans out there. And then we have some folks from Microsoft joining us today to help demonstrate the value in the customer success stories and the value and the benefits of Defender for Cloud and the workload protections. And then towards the end of the webinar, we have a Q&A segment. So please feel free to drop any questions in the chat, and we will be handling those at the end of the webinar. All right, so just a brief round of introductions. I'll start with myself. Hello, everybody. My name is Colby Maxey. I am Atmos Sierra's data security lead. I have over 10 years of cybersecurity experience, majority of which focusing in on the Microsoft ecosystem on the cloud security stack side, as well as a specialization in the Purview data security suite. So Adrian, Kevin, please feel free to do a round of introductions.
Thanks, Colby. Hey, everyone. I'm Adrian. I'm one of the security advisors for the Northeast. I cover everything security, compliance, and identity from Microsoft. So if you've heard of Defender, Purview, Entra, Intune, the full gamut in our security platform is what my team and I cover. So looking forward to chatting with you guys about Defender for Cloud. Kevin?
Hi, everyone. I'm Kevin Curran. I'm a solutions engineer focused on Azure infrastructure, which, as you know, often dips its toes into the security landscape. I'm aligned to Adrian's accounts, so work with him on any opportunities that come up, and hoping we can teach you something new today. Thanks.
Thank you, Adrian and Kevin, for taking time out of your busy schedules to collaborating with Atmos Sierra and bringing in this webinar. So thank you. So for any folks who are unfamiliar with who Atmos Sierra is, what we do, we've been in the IT sphere for over 30 plus years, providing various digital transformations, and with that skills, knowledge, and experience, we've been creating and providing various IT services ranging from managed services to professional services across the different IT domains such as app innovation, data and AI, DevOps, security, training, you name it. We pretty much have a service or offering to meet your needs. So that's just a little bit about Atmos Sierra. Let's go ahead and jump right into the topic of discussion, which is Defender for Cloud. So for anyone who's unfamiliar with Defender for Cloud is what Microsoft calls a cloud-native application protection platform. And what this means is instead of piecing together separate security tools to get you get a unified security system that helps you secure your resources from development through runtime across multi-cloud tenancies such as Azure, AWS, GCP, and even on-prem via Azure Arc. So with this diagram, you can see two major layers of protection working together: the cloud security posture management, known as CSPM, and then the cloud workload protection platforms, which is, you can see, storage going clockwise to servers. So on the CSPM layer, it protects the environments before attacks happen, and this is done by identifying misconfigurations across your infrastructure and workloads, as well as policy enforcements that align with your cloud architecture and regulatory requirements. And then it also includes a unified security posture score to see how well your security strategy is doing, what kind of gaps there are, and how you can improve your overall posture. In terms of CSPM, it is completely agentless, which means it continuously scans across your entire cloud estate. And then in terms of the workload protections, what they do, they provide a runtime threat protection, including malware detection, vulnerability assessments, behavioral analytics, anomaly and data exfiltration, detection and prevention, as well as integration with your Defender XDR for alerts, for triaging, and then eventually into your SIM. So with these, there are some of these workload protections are agent-based, like the servers and containers. They do require a Defender agent. However, most of the other workload protections are entirely agentless. So to bring this all together, the center shield in the diagram represents the core mission, being that we want to secure your environment, whether that's on the cloud or a hybrid type environment. And with this, it's the combination that which makes Defender for Cloud a full CNAP and provides a single pane of glass for security operations and governance. So moving on to the focus, which is going to be around cloud storage, as it's the fastest growing threat landscape. Cloud storage has become a top target because the attack surface has expanded dramatically. These outlined risks make storage one of the most sensitive yet commonly misconfigured cloud services. Many organizations adopt cloud storage faster than they implement proper governance controls. This leads to hidden costs, regulatory exposure, inconsistent protection strategies. And so that's where Defender for Cloud is going to come in as the solution, and with its various Defender plans like Defender for Storage is going to come in and help by the 3 different pillars listed. It's going to help detect, protect, and govern. So detections, it will help identify the malware that could be uploading across your storage containers, and then the protection, it will stop those malware activities from occurring or prevent risky activities from happening. And then on the governance side is going to help you in your data estate posture and understanding what type of data is out there. Is it sensitive? Is it not sensitive? And if it is sensitive, how much sensitive data is there? What types of sensitive information is residing in your storage buckets? So that's a really great component to Defender for Cloud. So the key takeaway here is that cloud storage is a high value target, and unmanaged storage risks lead to real breaches. And now we can pivot over to the demo. And like I said, feel free to join me in this Defender for Cloud walkthrough. And for those of you who are familiar with the Defender for Cloud dashboard, you can access it by going to portal.azure.com. And up at the top, you can search by Defender, and you can see the Defender for Cloud solution listed. And once you have that pulled up, you can go to the overview blade where it lands on. You can understand what all is in your Azure environment that's tied to Defender for Cloud. At least in mine, you can see your Azure subscriptions, how many resources you have within your estate, as well as attack paths. If you have Defender CSPM enabled, you can understand and see what types of resources are publicly exposed and understand the threats and vulnerabilities that are associated to those public-facing endpoints. Moving on to the security posture, this is where it's going to call out the critical threats, the recommendations. If you have that Defender for CSPM enabled, it's going to give you a breakdown of your threats based off of in terms of risks, and then going from critical down to low and not evaluated. Then for your total secure score, at least in my tenant, my Azure posture is looking pretty bad right now. So it's at a 36%. So we are going to take a closer look as to why my secure score is so low. And if you're a multi-cloud environment and you've integrated your AWS and GCP clouds to Defender for Cloud, you will receive secure scores for them as well. So let's take a closer look as to why my posture is so weak right now. So here we can see that there are over 75 low recommendations, and you can view these different types of recommendations based off of each resource or by the title. So you can toggle between the two if you want to go resource by resource, or by the title, by the recommendation. You can see the name of the recommendation and what the affected resources are associated with that recommendation. And then you can tack these recommendations onto your overall remediation strategy and just cloud posture improvement roadmap. For example, I have storage accounts that are currently publicly facing, So the Defender for Cloud was creating recommendations saying, hey, you should consider putting these behind a private link connection so they're not going through the public networks. So they're just some examples of the recommendations that are part of Defender for Cloud. We're going to go ahead and come down to under the management blade, we will select environment settings. In here, we can see towards the bottom, it's a little bit tricky to find, but you can see your tenant root group in your Azure environment, and then you will see all the different types of management groups and subscriptions. So in my environment, I only have one subscription that I will go to. And then this is where you can centrally manage at a subscription level your different Defender plans within Defender for Cloud. So in terms of CSPM, there are two options to choose from. The first one is the foundational CSPM, where it's really going to give you the basics, still very useful. It's going to continuously assess and measure your cloud posture. So it's not a single point in time type assessment. It's continuous. And then it will provide, based off of its findings, recommendations for you to take action on, and then your overall secure score to understand how well you're doing in your cloud security posture. Then we have the more advanced CSPM solution called Defender CSPM. And with that, you get over 20 plus capabilities with this plan. And that goes from agentless vulnerability scanning to attack path analysis, like I mentioned earlier, with those public facing endpoints. Then you have the risk prioritization that you saw earlier, where it will automatically take a lot of the manual mundane efforts of understanding which risks to tackle first. So it is automatically prioritizing those for you. Then it has proactive risk hunting, where you can look for 0 days or any other types of threats that are a priority to your organization. So those are just some of the examples and benefits that come with the Defender CSPM option. Then in terms of the workload protections, Microsoft does a great job of creating workload protections tailored to each resource type. So you have plans associated to servers, to the app services, databases, and so on. And for today's webinar, we're going to be focusing on Defender for Storage. And so we're just going to take a quick look here, and I will just say, I'll call out the three major components, capabilities to Defender for Storage. The first one being the malware scanning, which consists of malware scanning on upload. So anytime a person uploads to a storage account, a container, a file share, it will automatically scan those files and look for malicious threats and activities. And then the second component that I really love is the Microsoft Threat Intelligence, which receives trillions of signals per day to help correlate and identify various types of attack vectors, attack activities, any sort of certain threats and behaviors that the organization should be aware of. And then it will tie into those security alerts that you receive tied to your storage buckets. And then the third one is as a data security guy that I love, is the sensitive data discovery, where you can configure it to scan across your storage accounts. And what that will do is it will identify what's not sensitive data, what is sensitive data, and if it is sensitive, what types of sensitive data resides there. Is it credit card numbers, health information, social security numbers, and so on? So you can pick different sensitive information types to identify, categorize, and classify. So it's a really great component there. So that is the Defender for Storage plan. We are going to come back to the Defender for Cloud dashboard and go to security alerts. And here we're going to see, now that since I've had Defender for Storage enabled for a few days now, I can take a look at what types of alerts are being generated. And right here, I could see going from highs to lows that I've recently had a user go and upload malicious files to a storage account. Well, they at least tried, but thankfully I had Defender for Storage enabled, and Defender for Storage malware scanning was able to identify the file as malware, and it automatically deleted that file from being exploited across the storage account, which is great. That's what we want. And then it generates an alert based off of those identified attacks and threats. And then it will be reported to the XDR portal for security teams to review. And tied to that, you can see with Defender for Cloud, it includes the MITRE attack techniques. So the goal of this malware was to move laterally, where if we didn't have Defender for Storage in place, the malware could potentially spread across different storage buckets to VMs and other kinds of resources across your organization. So you want to think about your most sensitive storage accounts and wanting to get those secured first in your cloud security journey. But there's all different kinds of alerts here that you can see that provide you insight into suspicious user activities, if they're massively modifying buckets, mass deletions, or there's certain types of data exfiltration activities occurring. You will receive alerts and automated responses for those as well. And if we take a closer look here at the malicious blob to upload storage account that was automatically deleted, we can see the type of malware, which was a denial of service type malware. We want to take a closer look at this storage account. And I can do that by just clicking over here. Now I'm going into the storage account itself and going down to the security and networking blade. You can choose Microsoft Defender for Cloud. And now we're able to see what at the storage account level, what the Defender for Storage settings are currently configured to. You can see that beyond just the malware scanning upon upload, you can also perform on-demand scanning for your storage accounts. You can see how much it will cost per storage account, and you can make your scanning decisions based off of those details. And then if we come to the Defender for Storage settings and expand it there, we can configure this at the resource level. We can enable it at the resource level. You can enable it at the subscription level. If you have a strong tagging policy and strategy in place, you can also deploy Defender for Storage based off of tags and resource groups and so on. But here it can even override the subscription level at the storage account level. You can perform different, or you can modify different configurations here. If you have a certain budget, you can't just automatically scan everything all the time per month. You can set a limit based off of gigabytes. You can create certain types of filters to exclude certain type of like safe files to reduce those scanning costs, and so on. You can have it go to an event grid to like a third-party SIM, and then you can also feed these through a log analytics workspace. So those are just some of the customizations that you can perform with Defender for Storage across your storage accounts. So that is the Defender for Cloud walkthrough with the emphasis on Defender for Storage, and I will bring it back to the presentation. So that is our demo for today, and I will move it to, I'll hand the reins over to Adrian and Kevin to talk about the customer success stories with Defender for Cloud. Adrian, Kevin, take it away.
Thanks, Colby, and thanks everyone for joining. We're super excited to chat about a customer success story we've had with one of our customers today. Hopefully this sounds not too muffled. I'm hearing some feedback. But as I mentioned earlier, I'm Adrian. I'm one of the security advisors for the Northeast, and I have Kevin with me here, who pretty much did all the work here to make this customer successful. Next slide. So we've been working with a publicly traded company in the real estate space. They're one of our REIT customers. They pretty much own shopping centers nationwide. They have a pretty vast Azure footprint. Most of their environment is in the cloud at this point. They had about 14 subscriptions, and they're an ME5 customer, so they have our security platform. But the truth is they didn't have Defender for Cloud, so they didn't really have any of the visibility into kind of what was going on from a cloud security perspective across those subscriptions. They weren't getting any alerts feeding into XDR. And so you don't really have visibility into what's going on from a cloud risk, attack path, and kind of a compliance perspective. So we met ongoing with one of the heads of architecture at the customer, just about some of the use cases around storage protections, help them understand their exposure, and over time kind of built a solid foundation for them to secure their environment in the cloud.
Yeah, so this whole customer experience took place over the course of a couple weeks, essentially, just 30-minute meeting one week, followed up by a 30-minute meeting the following week. And the first one was really just focused on understanding the Defender services that are out there, the value around them, and then, of course, what is it going to cost us? And so in that first 30 minutes, we just went over the overview of the different plans, showed them the cost calculator within the Defender for Cloud portal, which makes it just a couple clicks to figure out what is this actually going to cost for my exact environment. And once they saw that, they thought it made sense to start gathering some insights. And so we turned on Defender CSPM and started gathering the insights. And then the following week, when we reviewed, we were able to show them, here's what's populating from having Defender CSPM turned on. Here's the actionable recommendations that it's bubbling up for you, some of the attack path analysis features that it's showing, and basically giving them some actionable insights. So from that point, the next thing to turn on was Defender for Storage. And following after that, we're looking at Defender for SQL. And so we've kind of slowly done the stair-step process to put this together and showing them the value of having these services turned on. And yeah, it was a super quick and easy process as far as customer engagement. So really, it's just about the partnership of working together, showing you the ease of use of the portal, and then the value of turning these Defender services on, which Defender for Storage, since we're talking about that today, is probably one of the most easy to use, low-hanging fruit out there. So yeah, it was a good experience, and we'd love to have the opportunity to show you how to do it as well. Thanks, Colby.
Thank you, Adrian and Kevin. So for next steps and how we can continue the conversation, please feel free to pull out your phones, scan the QR code. I promise it's not a restaurant menu. It is a landing zone for how we can continue the conversation and see if your organization is eligible for the Cloud Security Envisioning Workshop, where we can help you in your cloud security journey, wherever you're at, and help you meet your goals. And there will also be a link to the landing page in the chat here as well. So definitely take a chance, see if you can apply for that Cloud Security Envisioning Workshop. And with that, we can move it to the Q&A discussion. Adrian, Kevin, is there any questions out there so far that we can answer?
I don't think I have access to the chat.
Yeah, I don't see anything in the chat or the question panel.
Okay, I see there was a link to the offering in the chat, and I mean, I do have some questions. I see that there is a question here popping in. Does Defender credit apply to Sentinel? Since they fall here. Go ahead.
There is a log ingestion credit if you're using Defender for Servers Plan 2 that allows the logs, security-focused logs from your server endpoints to send, it's 500 megabytes per day per server. If you're ingesting that into Sentinel, that is covered by the credit if you have Defender for Servers turned on.
And I'll link that in the chat, the ME5 benefit. It's not just for Defender for Cloud. There's a lot of free kind of data sources in Sentinel as well, just for ME5 in general.
Okay, we got another one coming in here. Can you discuss Azure policies for automation of Defender security across multi-clouds?
So I guess if you're talking about automatic onboarding, that you can set up Azure policy to control whenever new subscriptions are onboarded, like within a management group, or if you onboard an AWS account or a GCP account, whatever it is, Even for Arc-enabled resources, if you have on-prem stuff that you're joining into Azure using Arc, you can set up Azure policies to automate the onboarding process of that and allow those Defender settings that you're enforcing at the subscription level to be inherited by those resources as well, so that you're not constantly having to go back in and manually configure those plans at a resource level. You just let it handle at either the management group or the subscription group level, and it'll trickle down from there.
And then to kind of expand on that, you can even create custom Azure policy definitions to be tailored to those other clouds like AWS, GCP too. So if there's nothing built in out of the box, you can always customize and create your own.
And I know
since the topic today is Defender for Storage, one of the most common questions that I get when talking to customers, especially around the malware scanning feature, since that's 15 cents per gigabyte, the question is, how do I know how many gigabytes I'm ingesting into the storage account on a monthly basis? And you don't even have to go do any math to figure it out, because in the cost calculator tool within the Defender environment settings, it will actually show you, based on the storage accounts we're evaluating, here's how many gigabytes you're uploading on a monthly basis, and give you that estimated cost as part of the output of the cost calculator. So quick and easy to understand that calculation as well.
Nice. Okay. So I have one. Does enabling Defender for Storage impact performance or increase latency to my applications?
The only time that I would say yes is if you happen to have a highly intensive operation occurring at the same time that Defender is scanning, like let's say file share, for instance. If you have a super IOPS intensive operation running against that file share at the same exact time that Defender for Storage is scanning that, you may see a slight reduction in performance for that maybe 10-minute window. But this was actually the customer that we talked about, the customer use case. They had the same exact question, and we went and looked at their utilization on those storage accounts to see what their baseline was at in terms of performance. And they're only running around 10 to 20% consumption. And so really the impact would only occur in a short spike. Like I mentioned, it would have to be a very high IOPS request at the same exact time that Defender for Storage is scanning, and it would only last maybe 30 seconds. So short answer, probably not.
Okay, thank you. And I think that we're approaching just about out of time here. If Kevin, Adrian, if there's no final thoughts, I think we can wrap up today's webinar. Just want to thank you both, and as well as everyone, all the attendees for joining today's webinar. Like I said, feel free to click the link and apply and see if you can get that cloud envisioning workshop for your organization, or reach out to Atmosphere, Microsoft, or us for assistance in your Defender for Cloud, Defender Plan journey. So thank you all for joining, and see you next time.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you all.